Well, Nate Yarusso, I appreciate your time today. Looking forward to having a good conversation and getting things rolling. So maybe kick us off. Quick little background story of who was Nate before he had the moniker of footprints on his polo chest.
Sure, Brian. Great to see you this morning. Yeah, just a quick background check. Or summary. I was in the Navy for most of my adult life, right after college up until about 2012. I was a pilot there, and then easy transition for all Navy pilots is to go into the airlines, and I did that for a little bit and realized it wasn't for me. I kept flying with another contract airline overseas for a few years, and the wife and I talked, and we were both at that point, close to 30 years of me being gone, being home, being gone, at least half the year, and decided it was time for a change, for something that was a little bit more local, and kept me in town, and always wanted to have my own business, to run my own business, and actually got started in the brokerage, like you, Brian, and with presenting franchises to clients. I would rank them, as ones that were very suitable, that were a good business to have, that had a lot of growth potential in it. And Footprints Floors kept coming up in the top 3 or 4. And the more I looked at it, the more I realized that, maybe this is something I should be doing. And so, like any prospective owner, went through the process of discovery and really liked what I was seeing. And so turned in my brokerage hat and bought a territory up here where we lived, which was ideal. Didn't require us to move, and got started in that. And then 6 months later, bought the adjacent territory, just to increase my area that I could develop the business. And geez, that was 4 years ago. So it's been going since then, and really enjoyed it. It's a great business to have. It does have its ups and downs. It's residential construction for, if you want to put a bracket on it as to what it is, but for the most part, it's been steady and increasing every year. So that's really kind of the summary, short and sweet, and that's kind of where we're at right now.
Totally relatable, right? Being a military guy, pilot, then a commercial pilot to franchise brokerage, franchise sales, right? What do you think gave you the confidence or the motivation, or maybe even like how did you come about learning about becoming a franchise consultant?
It was one of the pilots I flew with in Afghanistan in the contract airlines. He had a friend who was a broker, and he was working with him on doing that. And so we discussed many times what that was about. And I like talking to people, working with people, and putting projects together and deals essentially. And I thought that was a good fit, and it worked out well. But it really took me by surprise how quickly I shifted from that to actually being a franchise owner. I think just having my own business, a tactile business like that, appealed to me a little bit more than continuing with the brokerage.
Yeah, we have that story, I think, like 5 or 6 times over, where folks left corporate America, became a franchise consultant, representing, not necessarily representing multiple brands, but representing clients and helping them fast track their discovery process towards the right fit, and then arriving at maybe Footprints might be a better fit for them. And
Yeah.
Is there anything you could put your finger on that kind of maybe influenced you? And I know, so for those watching and listening, you had presented some of your clients to us, so you were learning about us through the grapevine of some clients and getting informed about us and excited or whatever. But what would you say kind of drew you towards Footprints, that it might be a good business for you in comparison to being a franchise broker?
Yeah, so definitely the culture of the business. Talking to you, well beforehand as well, and I think that was something where I felt it was a good fit for me. And then also the support from the franchisor, Footprints Floors itself, I thought was head and shoulders above the other franchises that I was possibly considering. Uh, and also, once you buy a territory, you have a business that's up and running. It's and I saw that in discovery. I saw that when I was presenting it to clients that it puts you years ahead of something. If you were to start this at scratch, it puts you at year 5 plus maybe of a well-developed business. They had lead generation dialed in. They had managed services dialed in. They had the chat room where you can go in and say, hey, I've got this floor I was looking at with these issues. What do I do? And you've got a lot of people who've been doing this for longer than you that came back and say, here's the steps you need to take. Here's what you're looking at. Oh, and here's the wood species that it is. So it got rid of any sort of guesswork on what am I looking at? What do I need to do? So it makes you seem initially when you start out, you don't know a lot of stuff, but it made you seem like you did, and you're able to get jobs based on the help and services you get with being a franchise owner with Footprints.
Yeah, it may sound interesting or weird for people to hear, because while I own my territories with Footprints, I've been in this role as a franchise developer for years, and so I'm envious of my team at Footprints in that their estimates are just scheduled for them, right? I spend so much time hunting, if you will, to create engagement with clients and prospects and opportunities to speak with them. And when I started, representing Footprints as a development director, right away I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, they just make your estimates appear out of thin air. And there's more to it. Obviously, it's like, it's a function of our budgets and so forth, but managed services tackles all that. And I thought, my goodness, you gotta be kidding. And then as we went through training, and then as we turned on the lights, I think I experienced just what you did, which was like, immediately it's working. And we're standing in living rooms going, oh, wait a second. Now we got to figure out how to do our job, which is how do we, relate to the customer and hear what they want to do and become proficient. So as you launched your business, how prepared did you feel the first time you walked into a customer's living room?
Oh, that's a great question. Prepared
or
enough.
How unprepared were you?
Well, you don't know what you don't know. So I felt like I was prepared. I was ready to go. They, the switch went on for the business, and I immediately got an estimate nearby, and it was interesting. Managed services. Oh, we did that as a test, but you've already got an estimate, so we'll keep it on there. And I went into the home and talk to the clients, this is what we're going to do. And so I got that job, actually, the first estimate I got. And in fact, they're a repeat customer. We've done other work, and we're on the schedule to do some work in the next couple of weeks for them. So that turned out great. But to answer your first question, how prepared was I? I thought pretty good. And everybody in the learning process makes some mistakes. Realizes that, I didn't estimate that correctly, or this was the wrong process to do this. But again, relying on the depth of knowledge with everybody else in the franchise, I've been able to see those projects to the end, and everything worked out well. So, and then of course you learn along the way. Lessons learned always. I write down what went well, what went wrong, and just tuck that away. So I feel like, now, probably in the second year and up to now, that I can go in and pretty much know exactly what needs to get done. Every job is different, but there's also similarities in every one. A scratched wooden floor, water damage. It may be different for them. It's brand new for them. They don't know what to do, but you do, and you go in and help assuage their concerns on all that.
So you landed the first quote you went on?
Yes. Yeah. So that was,
Isn't that amazing?
it is. I'm surprised I did, but and also as you go along, you develop your sales pitch,
Yeah,
laying
but
out.
shy of that, they trusted you for some reason or another, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For some reason or another, they did. Maybe I was the only one who showed up. So, there's that.
I oftentimes say that is like in the beginning, you go through training and corporate makes it look so easy because they're so good at it. And so you kind of sit there and go, oh, I got this, right? And you feel like you do. And then you go out and you perform an estimate, go, holy cow. And then you're like, but they said yes. And oftentimes it's because the competition is that bad, not because Nate's that good. But
True. Well, yeah, true. I'll be
yeah,
modest.
I'd love to see the evolution of their Google reviews, right? Like maybe the first one they didn't write your review, but now they're like, wow, Nate really is a good flooring guy. Like we hired him on a whim and
Yeah.
he was there, but the project was a little bit rocky, but he never quit showing up. And then all of a sudden it's like they're hiring you back. And I'm sure if your journey looks like mine, for noticeably more money this second or third or fourth time they hire you back, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You get a better idea of what the actual costs are, and while I take some credit for the sale, I do need to give credit to my subcontractors for actually doing the job and doing it well. I've been,
Yeah.
very fortunate in finding good people to do work. I've had a couple of bumps with some people, and it's very easy. You just don't hire them again. And if there's any corrections that need to be done, make sure that they do it. And if they don't or can't, you get another team to do it. While those moments can be stressful, everything is fixable. Is what I like to tell myself when things may go sideways. Just figure out a solution and get it done. And if it takes more time, and it does happen, that's just part of it. And so, I'll go in with here's what we plan on doing. Here's the expectations. Undersell, over deliver, always, or as much as I can, and everything seems to work out just fine.
Yeah, crews for us, and I think for everybody, it's such an intimidating thought process as you embark on like, what is Footprints Floors? Why do we exist? Well, we exist because crews need to be managed. Well, what kind of arrogance do we have to think we can manage a crew to success? And so as you evaluate the business, or at least for a lot of folks, it's like, I don't know, crews in my area are known for not showing up, and they cut corners and all this, that, and the other. And I think quite the opposite is what I experience is we go out and sell a job in front of them, credit ourselves to the sale, like you said, but then they come in and they build a wonderful job as long as we stay present with management and decision making and potential changes, or informing a customer of why we need to do a little extra to ensure their floor is going to be solid for years to come. But then very quickly we realized the crews almost became our selling point, where you've got some photos from a previous job and company cam, and you're walking through the project, and as you're talking to the customer, you're like, hey, Luis is doing a backsplash down the road, let me show you. And you hand them your tablet, and all of a sudden they went from being this intimidating subject of, my gosh, how do I find them, are they going to be worth a darn, et cetera, to now I'm talking about the quality of craftsmanship. I'm also talking about our need to manage them and make sure they show up, and that hey, Monday might be a late start. They're known for late starts, and customer chuckles, and you go, but we'll make sure we're here. And so you kind of embrace some of their pitfalls that people get upset about. You learn to sell around it, but then their craftsmanship tends to be really, really good. Is that what you've experienced as well?
Yeah, absolutely. If they're a good crew and their craftsmanship, as you say, is top notch, I do what I can to hold on to them, pay them promptly. Treat them well. Again, they're working for us in a relationship. They're working with us in a relationship. They don't work for us. And so just being very, respectful in that relationship helps a lot. They're subcontractors. They're used to general contractors being surly with them. And I take the stance that I'm exactly the opposite. And, and I make sure I lay out the job for them. Here's exactly what we need to do. And they take pride in their work because they want to be able to have work coming in. They, as subcontractors, do not have the infrastructure we have. So they're always looking for work. And if we're able to provide them with steady work and treat them well, pay them promptly, pay them fairly, they're going to be there. They're going to answer the phone when you call. And I do have some crews where I call and say, hey, this came up. It's, they want to go in a week or 2 weeks. Are you able to fit it in? And they will, even if they have other work going on, because they know that they can trust me and I can trust them. And I have, one crew in particular, a sand and finish crew, where their jobs are stellar, just really top notch, and I trust them implicitly. Or if I'm busy and I can't be there, here's the address, here's the door code, the homeowners are gone, needs a sand and finish, here's the products we're using, and they will go and do it. And I'll stop by at the end of the week when it's done and it's perfect. So being able to rely on that and rely on them is worth its weight in gold. Really, it makes my job a lot easier.
Yeah, I was just talking with Tim Busher yesterday out of Northern Virginia, and we were laughing because when we started, he was running a little late and he had to go do a material pickup. So I'm like, hey, what were you picking up? And he goes, oh, actually, I'm building a swing set for my kids. And I'm like, oh, that's amazing, right? Tuesday at 1:00, and he's got some crews operating, right? I go, well, I'll let you get back to the family, right? And he goes, no, they're actually out at the beach this week. And I said, oh, that's brilliant, man. He goes, yeah, I'll be joining them next week. And I said, what's workload look like? And he's like, I got 3 jobs that'll be going about $14,000 next week. And I said, all while you're at the beach? He's like, man, I got some good crews. He's like, I don't get the practice of that, but yeah, it's such an interesting dynamic. We start where it's like intimidating to hire them, and then you end up going to the beach for a week, and maybe you run 3 of your 5 crews, right? Because 2 of them, you got to manage them a little bit, or you got to sit on them, or they don't tend to make great decisions with customers, but the other 2 or 3 or whatever, they're pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think he and I have similar crews, and I got one guy who he has his own flooring business, and he's a subcontractor, and he knows a lot. So honestly, when I run into any issues, sometimes I'll call him and say, hey, what do you recommend here? And he'll lay it all out for me. And or he'll call because he's got his guys at one of my jobs. He's like, what do we do about this? And I'll ask him, well, what's your opinion? And so I actually can lean on him on some stuff, and he'll come up with a perfect solution. So it's really good. And I do very much appreciate that kind of relationship.
We found that to be somewhat intimidating in the beginning, and maybe we approached it with the wrong mindset, but it's like, how do you command authority and respect, not command, right? But how do you gain authority, respect, whatever, when the crew knows exponentially more about flooring than you do? And we realized fairly quickly that the crew looks at the relationship as though we run lead generation, we run sales, we run, expectation setting, contractual obligations, and collections. And we treat them really fair. And in fact, we don't really interfere with craftsmanship. We hold the standards, and we talk about flatness or moisture or whatever. But in the beginning, we were very intimidated. Like, how on earth are we going to walk into a job that we don't know how to build, and the crew's going to respect us as the house, if you will, right? We're the parent company that collects the money and then pays them downstream. And man, yeah. I'm 7 years in, signing my renewal. I got 2 of the same crews we started with, and it's like, and they know that we were green, and
yeah,
they didn't care.
Yeah, it's true. They, like you say, most of my crews are the ones I started with, and the good ones, and I've kept them in, and one of them, he takes me salmon fishing every fall, and we talk every week, just kind of go over business. He'll call me even and say, hey, I've got this issue going on. He needs somebody to talk to as well. But, we've joked a couple times that, when I first started, that how green I was and how little I knew, and how far I've come. So it's fun. I enjoy that part of it. I enjoy having people that I work with every day, rather than just kind of maybe an office job, or I'm just pushing emails every day. So, like I mentioned, it's a tactile, hands-on type job where you start a project, you finish a project, you have an end result that you can see that looks good, and that's very rewarding.
Yeah, I think we have a similar type of crew. We engaged with this guy maybe 4 years back, and beyond just doing flooring, like, he's a pretty capable general contractor. And he and his dad have done this for years, and they have no problem coming into our flooring projects, and they do a great job as just flooring guys for us. And we came into this project where we removed the floors, and we realized we had some major floor joist issues, some structural stuff. I called him up and said, "Hey, I wondered if you would take on this customer as a referral. I'm trying to give her a general contractor referral for some floor joist work." And he said, "Hey man, that's your project. So I can come in, I'll give you the number and you present it to her." And I said, I'd rather remove the liability from me as a flooring guy, because this is going to be structural. So if you don't mind, you go in, you bid it under your company name, and once you're done, it's ready for me to come in and do the floors. And he goes, "Yeah, he's like, I'm cool with that. And I hear you. I just want to be real clear, like, making sure in the future, like, any job I pull you on that's mine, that's my job, and you work downstream of me, and vice versa." And I was like, I can't thank you enough for that approach and that respect towards, like, he understands that this was our project, and he was willing to come in and bid it at a price that we could upcharge, and we could be the direct point of contact. And I was like, well, on this one, I don't want that liability, because I'm just a flooring company. And to see that surface, sometimes you never get into those conversations, but every once in a while you'll have that, or you'll have a crew say, "Hey, the neighbor came by and they were looking for a quote on the bathroom. I told them I'd get you over there." And you go, "Oh, so you're not going to undercut me." Like,
Yeah.
Those present themselves quite often. And the loyalty, I think if you treat them fair, the loyalty is definitely there.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Couldn't agree more, and don't even need to add to it. That's exactly right. And that's happened a couple of times where we've worked for a general contractor, and then the general contractors asked my guys to do a job, and they're like, "You're going to have to talk to Nate about that." So yeah, the integrity is there with good crews, and always appreciated, because they know, I'm the hand that feeds them, and they don't want to bite that.
Yeah.
And so they respect that, and they know by doing that, just more business is going to flow my way.
Yeah. So walk me through, good crews, crews you still need to manage and so forth. Walk me through, like, typical day for Nate. Here it is 8:00 or 8:30, and you're still at the house on the computer with me. So thank you for that. But what's a typical day look like and a week look like?
Well, I'll go over today, because today's kind of a typical day. After we're done here, I got to head to Home Depot and meet my towel crew to pick up some supplies, because we need to add a subfloor to a bathroom project that we're starting. And then I got to go to a client. Their project is starting tomorrow, but before we can install the floors, we need to apply a coat of moisture barrier, Bona R540. Which is, it's only 125 square feet, which is kind of small to get my guys out there. They don't have the time. So I'm going to run that on real quick, take me about 15 minutes. And then I got 3 estimates back to back. And then I got to go pick up some materials for another tile project that's starting in a few days. I got to make a few phone calls in between. And then I get back to my hometown here at Anacortes, and I have a referral estimate. Repeat client. Well, actually, it's a repeat previous customer estimate. She moved to a new home and she wants new floors. So I'll give her that estimate. And then when all that's done, probably eat dinner and then finalize those 3 estimates on Builder Prime. And that'll be done for the day. So that's kind of a typical day. Yeah, it runs like that. If I don't have any projects going on, then it's just estimates, and then I come home and do the estimates. But that's rare, because usually we have 2 to 3 projects a week that are going on or preparing to start, where they need materials, et cetera. So, it's an 8 to 10 hour day with driving in between. And yeah, so that goes Monday through Friday, and sometimes have a little bit of weekend work. What I do, and this isn't required by anybody, but when we get a wood staircase job, I will do the sanding and finishing in my shop on the treads. So when it gets out there for the install, it just goes right up, treads and risers. Saves time. I don't have to get a second crew in there to sand and finish them afterwards. And but I'll bid it out with the sand and finish for it, so it's just increases the margin a little bit. So this weekend I have to finish one of those up, and I usually do probably 5 or 6 staircases a year that way. So that adds a little bit of work. Every once in a while I got to go do some small touch-ups, and collect the check at the same time. So I do a little bit of hands-on work. I was for a while doing sand and finishing of small rooms. Like, you go in, they got a 120 square foot room, and that's the job. It can be kind of hard to bid it competitively since it's so small. But, so for a couple I did get some equipment, a specialized sander called the Pullman Spider, and I would do those jobs, but I was taking more time than that I didn't have. So I will now go and bid small jobs at a much higher rate so I can pay a guy to do it. But that's one of the things I've stepped back from, because, to be honest, it's a young man's game. I would do that over a couple of days, and everything hurt. So I'm like, I'm not going to do that anymore. But having that equipment has helped me out in a lot of ways. In fact, one of my crews is using that right now for a job. They pulled up 40-year-old carpet, and the pad had adhered itself to the floor. Nobody else would bid on it. But with that machine and some special attachments, we're able to do that. So I'm able to charge heavy for something like that nobody else can do. So, long answer, long here. It helped me out having that equipment. But yeah, typical days, full days.
Man, you said 8 to 10 hour day, and I can help you turn that into like 7 to 9 by just doing the estimates in the house, man. Why are you bringing homework home?
Well, I'm trying out this new system, and for the first 4 years, I was doing almost all my estimates in the home. And
were you using client tether, or were you using joist?
Client tether, but to be honest, client tether I was not getting good feedback from it, and people weren't getting the estimates. It just wasn't well laid out. So I quit using it unless it was a very complicated project, and I did need an hour or two to work up that estimate. But if it was a simple sand and finish job, it'll take me 10, 15 minutes in the home, and give them a paper copy with my card and be on my way. But I do like using Builder Prime. They do. I think their presentation when you submit a contract is appealing to the client, and I've actually gotten a lot of good feedback and gotten a lot of jobs because of it.
Yeah, and for those watching, we're talking about a CRM, or a software technology that we use to not only keep customers organized leads organized as they come in and they convert into in-home estimates, and then they convert to customers. We then advance and use it for estimates, and then furthermore, work orders with our crews. We found some challenges in our business with one of the programs. We made a system-wide switch at the tail end of last year. So it's it's June as we speak right now, and I think our first group went through in December, and our fourth and final group went through like in February. Which is it's challenging, especially for a system that's, the Colorado guys are 10, 12 years into this. You and I are 7 to 4 to 3. And so we had a variety of, phases of everybody's business, but we had to make a decision to embrace a new technology that would take us to the next level. And And so right now, I think we are all learning a little bit of the newness of that, the uniqueness of that. But by and large, I'm seeing that it's a pretty tremendous benefit. Nothing's perfect, right? I get a new car and I love how nice it is, but then some of the stuff is too sophisticated for me to even use. And I'm like, I don't even know how to use that. So,
Yeah.
it gets better gas mileage. It's nicer, it's newer, but there are some quirks. So I think with everything, but all in all, yeah, Builder Prime has turned into be a good resource. So do you foresee yourself in a few months being capable of doing those in-home estimates again with Builder Prime?
Yeah, possibly. One of the reasons I don't like doing a tablet or a computer in the home is it may not work right away. And then you kind of appear like you don't know what you're doing type thing. Paper estimate, works very well. I have all my pricing memorized. So doing a quick new estimate is fairly straightforward. But I also will say, if I do get a small job or a complicated job, being able to come home and sit down and go through it at my own pace, I make less mistakes. And that's just me personally. Sometimes I'll feel rushed in the home if I've got my computer open and they're looking at me, And then also, let's be honest, you get an estimate on a job you don't want. I'll overbid it just because I don't want it. And it's, I don't know. That's me personally. I don't want to sit there and go, yeah, here's the estimate to do it, and have their eyes get wide and, are you kidding me type thing. But if I kind of do it through the anonymity of, an email, then I don't have to deal with them, being kind of upset with why is that $6,000, type thing. They can just ignore it at their leisure at that point.
Well, and there's more to these. I'm teasing you here in good spirit, but there's more to this that I'm trying to extract, which is, a lot of franchise organizations are very governed by rules and protocols, and we have best practices.
Yes.
But like, is doing an estimate in the home something suggested? Yeah, of course it is. Are you in default for not doing it? No, not at all. Are we supposed to sell, is the business model to sell jobs and to manage subcontractors to fulfill those jobs? Yeah. Are you in default by owning a Pullman Spider? Heck no. Are you in default by sanding stair treads and risers and having them prepped to, be ready for your projects because you do it on your Saturday? No. And I know even beyond that, like you've bid, and I've heard through the grapevine, you've bid some pretty substantial projects. And so that's a part of it as well. I know you're going home and putting together pretty complex estimates. But to me, that's a beautiful thing where we've got some clear and defined guardrails that say, hey, here's how to stay safe and secure in footprints, but we're not going to police you if you go outside of those.
Right.
So I do want to touch back on, and for those that are in the process, you guys have come to learn, gross sales per estimate as a target. As a company, we shoot for about $1,000 or a 1.0 power rating. So as Nate goes out there today and quotes 3 new customers and 1 referral customer, what's a power rating for a Nate Yarusso look like?
Well, the past couple of years have been pretty well. They've been over 2.0s. And last year in particular was over a 3.0. And, I'm very grateful for that. And I will say, last year, most of my estimates were handwritten estimates in the home. The American consumer, I guess you could say, they want to know what things are going to cost as soon as possible. And I have, presented paper estimates and they've signed it on the dot and cut me a check right there. Those are infrequent, but it does happen. And, especially when they're ready to go. And then, when you go into a home, you also got to kind of weigh out what's the willingness of this client. Are they kicking tires? Are they just kind of, well, we don't know how much it costs, we just kind of want to see? Or do they have a bona fide issue that needs to get fixed and they're ready to go? And if they're ready to go, then that definitely lends itself to, hey, let's see if I can get this sale on the spot. So I think I've been able to judge that pretty well. So my power rating reflects that. But I think the biggest part of power rating is knowledge and transferring that knowledge to the client. Here's what your problem is. Here's how we can fix it. And here's the process of how we would do it. And it's going to take this long to get it done. And that really puts them at ease. It's like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about, and he can do exactly that. What water damage is a good case in point. The refrigerator, the dishwasher, one of the appliances leaked, and the whole kitchen floor is ruined. And so I say, yep, here's what we can do. And the rest of the floors, we'll lace it in. It'll look like it never happened. We'll match your stain color. In fact, we can change your stain color if you'd like, providing them options, or you can do this or we can do that. And act like you've seen it before, which you will have many, many times, and you know exactly what to do. And that does help the sale. And then likewise helps the power rating.
Yeah. Well, and like we talk about, a 1.0 is you're kind of a B plus student in our system. A 2.0 is unbelievable, and a 3 point, or even north of that is fantastic. But yeah, to your point, I was the kitchen water damage, pre-finished, hand scraped hardwood that can't be laced in. And so of course Brian comes over because he lives right next to me, and he gives me a quote, and I was going to do my floors anyway. So when Brian tells you his power rating last year, it's because he did like one quote at my house for like $30,000. So when Brian talks about a 30 power rating, tell him he's a liar. Just kidding.
Yeah, he is.
But yeah. And then not only was I a slam dunk on the sales side, then Scott managed my project. We went to Utah for like 12 days, and I don't think I saw Scott but twice on my Ring doorbell. But it's all good because their crew came in and did the job, and they'll stand behind everything they did. But yeah.
No, that's good.
I actually used myself as an example because we knew we needed to do our main floor because our dishwasher took a dump. Next thing you know, we pushed it into a back bedroom, and all right, let's have all the same floors on the main floor. And then I get to thinking about it. Well, if we're going to do that, our staircase is kind of the center of the house. All right, what's the stairs going to cost? Well, if we're going to do that, we do have a few high traffic areas into our bedroom. So we went from, 11 grand to whatever, close to 30, all because my mindset was like, well, it's a lot of money, but it's also a massive inconvenience. So let's just be done with the house and just live here for another 20 years or whatever. So anyway,
no,
we get
absolutely,
those customers.
And I like how you brought up the staircase. If it's suitable for where I'm at, I will bring that up. How about a wood staircase? And then I'll show them pictures of it, and they're like, ooh, I like that. And wood staircases are, they're expensive, labor, materials, everything associated with them. So it's kind of hard to get those in there, but when you do, you're like, fantastic. That just helps the bottom line.
Oh, and they're beautiful. And, we try to tell customers that they're going to love the project that they invited us in to do. It's going to make them look at the other stuff and see how old it is. So just keep that in mind. Like, you're going to be calling us back for the other ones, the bathroom, the whatever.
Yeah. We did a kitchen remodel, which is a little bit outside of flooring, but my guys do cabinet installation. So we got all that set up, and I was telling her, I looked at her kitchen table. I go, look, this entire room's going to be new because we redid the floors, stained them, new cabinets, paint, everything. I go, you're going to want to replace that. And sure enough, she's like, yeah, everything looked old with all this new stuff. So she was kind of ribbing me a little bit on that one because I made her focus on it. And she's like, now you made me spend all this more money. I'm like, well,
right.
It looks beautiful now. So,
you can't unsee that. Like, I never noticed that. And then you pointed out, it's like, I can't unsee it.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, Nate, I do appreciate your time. And I got one final parting thought. If you were to talk to yourself 4 years ago, what's a bit of advice you'd give yourself about the business, about the lifestyle, about anything, right? Whether it's positive, negative, a reminder, a kick in the pants, anything. What would you tell yourself 4.5, 5 years ago?
Geez, that's a great question. And I don't think I've thought about it too much, but that you need to manage your schedule really well, and I'm still working on that. And I think 4 years ago, I did assessments of what zip codes were selling well, what was working well, and I think I went with some zip codes that weren't bringing me any income, and I think I would have cut those out a little bit earlier and more directly, managing where I'm doing the best, where I'm doing the worst, and let's focus on where the customers are at more so. And I think that would have saved me a lot of time and headache in the beginning. And I think that's really kind of it. And then I'd be a little bit further along on that. And then that's really kind of all I can think of at this point. That and manage your expenditures a little bit better. Making sure you're quoting for the materials that are being supplied accurately, rather than going back with, hey, this costs a little bit more than we thought because of this. That tends to make you look a little bit, uninformed as to did you even know what you were estimating? So I think being on top of that a little bit more would have made me feel better in the long run. I don't think it would have changed anything, but I think those are the kind of things I would like to apply then. But I'm applying them now, so it's from here on out.
But being honest with yourself, like I don't disagree that in the beginning, the journey, you look back and maybe didn't quite price things accurately or manage your expenditures because you failed to price them in and said, "Oh crap, I should have known that I needed that." But I think that's somewhat a part of the journey. But maybe furthermore, the business does allow for us to still maintain profitability, even though we miss something. It's not at the profitability we want to hit, right? So we make less than we ideally wanted to make, but we didn't really lose money. And I remind myself of that from time to time. It's like, okay, I still didn't lose money, even though I missed that. Like, it's okay.
Yeah, and I've only had one project where I've actually lost money in it, and it was only a few $100s, and that was just through errors of my own. And when you get the pain of a loss, it sticks with you more than the gains, to be honest. And so you're like, I'm not going to do that again. And sure enough, I haven't. So I've, like I said, only lost money on one job. So you're right. It does build in, the system does build in for profit at every job. May not be what you want it to be. So, managing your quotes, making sure your margin is there is really, really important. Staying on top of that.
Yeah. And then every once in a while, that job you really don't want to do, that you throw a 2x estimate at and they say yes to it, you're like, well, I guess that'll help me on those jobs I didn't bid correctly.
Well, yeah. Makes up for those, and it all kind of comes out in the wash. Mm-hmm.
They're still aggravating though. It's always the human, right? And you're like, oh.
Yeah. And we had one job where I get through the estimate, and the client's like, well, here's what the other estimates were. And they were out of this world, $20,000 to $22,000 for a $6,000 job, so that allowed me to beef up my prices a little bit and still get the job, to kind of offset maybe some ones where the margin didn't pan out. And I wasn't being dishonest. I was just padding for the work. There were long drives. There was a lot of materials I needed to get, and it just kind of helped my margin a little bit.
That's interesting that, they showed you the quotes for others. You were noticeably less than them. And then after the job, I'm sure you might have had these feelings. I know I would have, is you put this, what you think is a padded quote, and you go, what am I missing? They say yes, and then you build it and go, I guess I didn't miss anything. And you go, how on earth did those others get that price? Yeah,
you're absolutely right. When everything came out in the wash, I was only a little bit more in margin than I expected. So it's like, well, I guess had I given them an honest bid, I would have underbid that one. So yeah, note to self, that. But you're right. It's like, what did I miss? And I don't think I missed anything. I think they were just double or tripling their prices Maybe they didn't want the job. Maybe they were just expecting that to be a windfall. But you know, so, you know, even then I keep my honest pricing regardless. And I've had more than a few estimates where they say, oh, that's a lot less than we were expecting. And I'll joke and I say, well, I can redo that if you'd like. And they're like, no,
Right.
no, this is fine. You know, it's an honest price. Yeah, I left money on the table, but you know, I'm not trying to chisel anybody. And then that makes everybody happy all around. I still maintain my margin. And of course, I've gotten ones that are like, oh, that's way more than we wanted, or you're double the other guy. I'm like, well, good luck with the other guy, because that is going to be a problem. And sure enough, a couple people have come back. It's like, I wish we had gone with you. We're running into so many headaches and et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, oh, really not much I can say, you know.
Yeah, we get those from time to time, and I always feel guilty or bad, not guilty, but bad, because sometimes you know that there's like a hard, fast budget of 4,800, and they commission another guy for 44, and then we get called in, and we're going to be our original $5,000 that we quoted them, but they might have been $2,000 into the other, and I'm like, ugh, we could have done this for 5 instead of 7, but you know, you feel bad for the customer, but it's tricky. And I think that's our general approach, is to fulfill industry standards, maintain, you know, construction guidelines according to floors and, you know, the NWFA and stuff. But customers sometimes don't know what that all means. And sometimes they don't really care to listen. And you sit there and try to educate them. And to them, it's price only. And then you go, no, it's not price, but they learn it the hard way.
Yeah, that's true. And there's not much you can do about it for them.
No.
But you're right. You do feel bad because, you know, everybody's got a budget and everybody's dollars are hard-earned dollars. And you hate to see them spend it on substandard work. And then, you know, then there's really nothing you can do about it. But, you know, on to the next estimate.
Yeah. Well, with that in mind, buddy, I'm going to let you go do your estimates, and I'm going to check in with you, because 3 new estimates at a 2.0 power rating is $6,000, and a referral, I'm going to call you a 4.0 power rating.
Oh yeah. That's a done deal.
So I need a $10,000 day out of you, Nate.
I will try and deliver.
I love it. He doesn't fall out of his chair. He's going for it. Let's set a target. $10,000, buddy. That'd be a heck of a day.
As long as it's not like a tile repair or, you know, something small. Well, actually, one of them is an LVP repair, and I didn't include that in this estimate count. I'm going to have to call them and tell them the only way we can do that. So we got to tear everything out, pour an entire skim coat of self-level, and install a new floor. 99 times out of 100, they're like, yeah, we're not going to do that. But
yeah,
if I do a small LVP repair, now I own that floor, and LVP is trickier than people think, or, you know, perceive it to be. So I've learned that the hard way, by the way. So
yeah, we've gotten into some commitments on things with repairs, and it's not, if it's installed correctly, it's very, very durable. If it's not, it's very, very brittle, and joints break, and, you know, little cracks happen. And it's just like, if the environment is perfect, it's dang near indestructible. But if the environment's not perfect and there's a little pebble under there, you're going to have a cracked board that's going to cost you a lot of money.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, beware LVP. It's got to be done correctly.
Yeah, but we do go in and bang out a lot of jobs in that category quite often and do all right. If we get to do them from start to finish, we can ensure they're done right.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I tell people.
Yeah. Well, Nate, I appreciate your time today, and as do the people watching this. So thank you so much. And continue doing what you're doing for your customers.
Okay. All right, Brian. Thank you.
All righty, sir. Take care and have a great day.
You too.